All right, boys and girls, Benjamin Bok Choi here, and the F1 world woke up to the news today that Liam Lawson was going to be replaced by Yuki Tsunoda in the second Red Bull seat starting the Japanese Grand Prix weekend. Now, I've been reading a lot of articles, watching a lot of videos, and they've all been kind of saying the same thing, either blaming the car or just saying Lawson was not up to snuff. But I feel like those are symptoms of a bigger issue. And the question of what is going on at Red Bull needs a little bit of nuance, right? And I think the issue is poor leadership or a lack of cohesive leadership on that team. And it's manifesting in a few different ways. The first problem we've seen in the last couple of years is indecisiveness, right? Now, for those of you that don't know, Dietrich Mateschitz was an Austrian businessman. He was 49% co-owner of the Red Bull Drinks Company, but he did play a little part in the actual racing team as well. He was kind of the glue that held the team together. He was really close with Helmut Marko, but also friendly with Christian Horner. Now, when he passed away in 2022, we kind of saw the team unravel a little bit. Reports coming out of Red Bull has said that there was a divide in the team that kind of got worse since the Horner texting allegation controversy last year. But it's been around for a couple years now, and then there's been kind of like a struggle for power, and you saw that with the indecisiveness of some moves that they made, right? That they made, I should say. It started off with when Pierre Gasly left AlphaTauri, that second seat was vacant. Helmut Marko was really high on Nick DeVries. Horner, not so much. But they brought in DeVries anyway. What happens? Nick doesn't last half a season. He's gone by the summer break. And then you saw it again last year when the second Red Bull seat became open. Horner wanted Liam Lawson in. Marko wasn't quite so hot, but they bring in Lawson, and he doesn't even last 3 race weekends. You also saw it last year when Sergio Perez was not performing well. And fans and pundits alike kind of expected Perez to be replaced during the summer break, but they extended his contract early on in the 2024 season, even when he wasn't performing well, which kind of blew everybody's mind. Everybody thought he would be gone at the very least by the end of 2024, but Red Bull extends his contract, which made no sense. And what made the situation even worse was at the end of the season, they had to pay like $18 million to get him out of that contract. And by that time, guys like Carlos Sainz and Valtteri Bottas, they were already kind of, well, at least in the case of Sainz anyway. Sainz was already picked up by Williams, and Bottas was in a reserve role with Mercedes. So they kind of lost out in that situation, and that's when they kind of had to go into their bag of junior drivers and make a decision on Liam and Yuki. But because they were so indecisive throughout most of the 2024 season, I think they missed out on picking up an experienced veteran like Carlos Sainz, who would probably fare better in that car than either Liam or a Yuki. So the second if the leadership is the headline, the second bullet point after indecisiveness is the lack of identity for that second Red Bull team. Now, they can say all they want that the Racing Bulls team wants to be its own entity, but we all know why they're there, right? Ever since they were Toro Rosso, they've been the training grounds for senior Red Bull drivers. And they just have failed miserably at that. If you look at all the drivers that have been on that junior Red Bull team, I'm going to call them a junior Red Bull team because that's what they are. Carlos Sainz goes to Renault, finds success at McLaren and Ferrari, struggling a little bit at Williams this year, but he's a class driver. We all know he's about to bounce back. Daniel Kvyat, gone from F1 now. Brendan Hartley, gone from F1 after 1 season. Pierre Gasly gets promoted to Red Bull for half a season. Comes back down to Toro Rosso after he wasn't performing well. What happens? He gets a podium and then a win in the second Red Bull team. And then he's gone. Success at Alpine now. And then Alex Albon, kicked out of Red Bull, loses his seat for a year, comes back with Williams, driving so much better now than he ever has in Formula One. And then you can even look at guys like Nick DeVries, gone after half a season. Daniel Ricciardo, they brought him back. He's gone now too. And then Yuki, who's been sitting there for 4 years, when the opportunity comes to possibly promote him, they pass him over. Liam Lawson, there for 11 races, promote him for 2 race weekends, and then they kick him out. There is a fundamental failure with that second team. They can say that they are 2 separate entities all they want, but we know that the second Red Bull team is to prepare drivers for the senior team. So why is it that they can't even get the basics down, like building similar cars? If that Red Bull is on the edge, on a knife edge, very difficult to drive, very prone to oversteer, and needs a very risky driver to control it, why is the Racing Bulls car not built the same way? I know there are rules in place so that teams can't collude and they can't build the same car, but somebody on that team, either at Red Bull or Racing Bulls, needs to say, hey, we're supposed to be training drivers for the second Red Bull seat. Why don't we make our car similar to the Red Bull so that they can get some proper training? Why is it you're training guys for this difficult car in a very easy to drive car? It doesn't make any sense. Again, lack of leadership. Somebody not recognizing the problem and fixing it before it becomes an issue. Third bulletin under the leadership problem, that is Red Bull. They're just not listening to the drivers, right? For years now, for at least 2 years, Sergio Perez has been saying, you're not listening to me, you're not listening to me. And then last year, even Max Verstappen saying, they're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm saying the car is not being developed properly. Sure, it's fast, but even Max cannot handle the car. Christian Horner or Helmut Marko needs to go to the R&D team and say, whatever you guys are getting in the wind tunnel is not correlating to what our guys are feeling on the track. And I don't remember if it was Pierre Wache or if it was Adrian Newey that came out and said it, but somebody came out and said we're almost at the max potential of this car. And that was like early in 2024. So since early 2024, they've known that this car was not going to get any faster. And yet throughout the season, they watched as other teams like McLaren get faster and faster and continue to ignore any of the advice that either of their drivers are giving to them. They just continued on with their development path that they knew was going to dead end soon and watch other teams catch up. What is going on here? Why is leadership not stepping up and fixing any of these issues, right? There's no cohesion at that team. They don't know what they're doing with the Racing Bulls team. It's obviously not creating drivers that are able to handle the Red Bull seat, and they're not listening to their drivers at Red Bull. And I assume they're probably not listening at Racing Bulls either. If they're not listening to Max Verstappen, what are the chances they're being like, oh yeah, Isaac, yep, I understand. Let's totally make that change for you. It's probably not happening, right? So yeah, the news articles can say that it's a slow car, it's a difficult car, but that's not the problem. The problem is way more nuanced, way more complex, and goes way deeper than just the car. So that's what I think the problem is at Red Bull. Even if they get a faster car, those issues are still going to be there. Now, they benefited from the fact that Max Verstappen is an alien freak that can drive to the potential of any car. And that kind of glossed over some of those problems for the last couple of years, right? It's easy when you're winning. It's easy to kind of overlook the problems when you're winning. But now that you're not winning, the problems come up to the surface. They're a little bit more noticeable, and they become a little bit bigger. So what's the solution here? I don't know. Do they need to just overhaul their leadership? Does somebody from the Red Bull board need to just tell Helmut Marko he needs to retire and step away from the team? Or do they need a new team principal? Now, Christian Horner has been here before. Helmut has been as well. You know, after Vettel won his 4 championships, they kind of were in a similar situation. The car wasn't up to snuff, kind of started to have a little bit of trouble with their drivers. You know, Max is a little bit disgruntled at this point, and they were able to come out of it. Granted, it took them like 7 or 8 years to come out of that problem in 2014, but they still made it out. But the issues are a little bit different now, right? You don't have Dietrich Mateschitz there to kind of hold everybody's hands and tell them to play nice. The team is divided now at this point, whereas before they were kind of a cohesive unit. And now you have, well, I guess, Max Verstappen being a little bit disgruntled and wanting to leave is kind of similar as Vettel was kind of in the same situation. But they didn't have young drivers to draw on like they did then, right? They had Ricardo and they had Verstappen kind of in the pipeline. I don't know if Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, and Isaac Hadjar are at the same level as Ricardo and Verstappen were at that point. So similar situation, different details. So do they need to remove Marco and bring in a new team principal and just kind of start fresh? I'm not really sure what the answer is, but I know that the problem deep down at its base is poor leadership, or at least divided leadership. And it's doesn't matter what kind of car you have, that this problem is going to manifest itself. These problems are going to manifest themselves again if you don't get to the root of that issue. So that's what I think anyway. Let me know what you guys think, and feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.